apologies. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to proceedings for this morning. But before we start some activity, may I ask our religious leaders to offer some prayers. Imam C, you have the floor.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين وإن تستفتحوا فقد جاءكم الفتح نصر من الله وفتح قريب وبشر المؤمنين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل أعوذ برب الفلق من شر ما خلق ومن شر غاشق إذا وقب ومن شر النفاثات في العقد ومن شر حاسد إذا حسد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل أعوذ برب الناس ملك الناس إله الناس من شر وسواس الخناس الذي يوسوس في صدور الناس من الجنة والناس إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما صلى الله تعالى عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.
Shukran, Imam C. Bishop, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chairman. Gracious and eternal Father, we thank you for your mercies, your goodness, your love, your compassion, your forgiving spirit, and your healing spirit. We continue to commit the whole nation, the Gambia, before you as a peaceful land, as a people of love, a people of peace, a people of reconciliation, a people that have the spirit to forgive when they are hurt. As we go through the sittings of the TRRC, and as witnesses come to testify, Lord, we pray that you will bring out the truth from them, Lord, and that you will help the commissioners to discern between falsehood and truth, and that throughout the process you will help us, that those who have been hurt, that they will be healed, that those who need to have reparation, Lord, that it will be provided. That, Lord, the reconciliation process will also become an actual thing among us as people who are concerned for the welfare and well-being of one another. And that also justice will be meted out. This we ask through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, Bishop Odiko. Before I call on the council, may I remind everybody to turn off your mobile phones during the proceedings. It will be very helpful indeed if there is no interruption from mobile phones while we proceed with our hearing. Council, are we ready with this morning's witness?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Yes, we are ready.
Yeah. Council, you may continue, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Mr. Witness. You're reminded that you're still under oath.
All right.
If you're ready, may we proceed? Mr. Witness, are you ready to proceed?
Yes, ma'am.
Just a brief recap of what happened yesterday, what was said in your testimony. We went through your personal information through your educational background as well as your work experience, your professional experience. We went through the events of 1994, July coup d'etat, and then proceeded on to your deployment to Yundum barracks. And we were just beginning to get into the events of November 1994, 11th of November 1994, when we actually stopped. So we will just continue from there. I believe the last point you were trying to make yesterday was just going through some of the recalcitrant attitude of the officers during the rehearsals for your Remembrance Day parade. So can you just continue from there and just tell us what kind of problems you experienced with the officers during your rehearsal periods?
Thank you. Good morning, Chairman and the entire commissioners, the councils here present, members of the press, and then the general public. Like I explained yesterday, when I started our rehearsals in preparation for the Remembrance Sunday, some of the challenges that I had, like I said, not from the men, but from the officers, where they feel reluctant to, come out and then attend the parade. I found it very difficult to get them on parade. And that time, it happens that Lieutenant Aliuba was the adjutant. So first, I consulted him and then explained to him some of the problems that I encountered with the officers, that will always be in the field doing the rehearsal with the men and then waiting for the officers to come, but they will not turn up. In fact, I was prompted by Alani Kanyi, who reported to me that, sir, the officers are not coming. I said, how? He said, well, we've been there for a while and then they are not coming. So I later confirmed. So I prompted the adjutant. But the problems, keep on continuing, going on. So it was that time now, I feel it is high time for me to take the bull by the horn. So I started meeting the CEO, who was Lieutenant Barrow. And I explained my ordeal to him. And he kept telling me that, okay, I'll talk to them. All right. So basically, whether he addressed them or not, I cannot confirm. But there was a slight improvement. They started appearing, but not in the morning. Sometimes we will go on rehearsal 1 or 2 laps before finally you start seeing them coming up.
All right. Can you just tell us where they used to be during this time that they didn't turn up? Where would the officers normally be found?
Usually, the officers, when they report to work in Union Barracks, they go straight to the anteroom. That's where they will, do their admin stuff.
Can you just tell us what the anteroom was? Just explain what it is.
It's like a recreation hall for officers. They usually go there to, have their meals and then do their preparation for the upcoming, maybe probably tax or whatsoever. And that is a place where also you can find the duty officer. The duty officer, it's always in the anteroom. That's where he operates from in terms of giving instructions as to what to do with the men.
Would it usually be the place where discussions are held and meetings are also held?
Well, usually with the officers, yes, periodically, they do organize their meetings there, and yeah, of course, yes, they organize their meetings there, different from the men, because when they are having their meetings, we don't have soldiers around them, so that's where they normally held their meetings.
So it is correct that when the rehearsals were going on for the Remembrance Day parade, the soldiers were in the field, the officers would basically retreat in the anteroom.
Say again, please.
Usually when the rehearsals for the Remembrance Day was going on in the field with the men or with the soldiers, the officers would normally retreat and be in the anteroom, and that's why they were not found in the field during rehearsals.
You are very right.
You spoke about your concerns. You spoke to Lieutenant Aluba and then proceeded on to Barrow. Can you just tell us, you said certain things changed. There was some positives that changed, but were certain things did certain things still remain in place?
What I mean, there was a slight change, is that they started turning up, to join the parade. But when they turn up on parade, they will always make sure that they attempt the parade for only once. Because sometimes if I'm not satisfied with the performance of the men, I will ask them to repeat. But that is another challenge that I used to have with them. So, that trend, in fact, continued also.
So basically, there wasn't much improvement in their behavior?
Not much. Not much.
Can you tell us if at any point you were approached by the senior non-commissioned officers at the Yundum barracks about anything?
Like an RSM, like I said before, your job is to look into the welfare of the soldiers and their well-being. So time in time, I do organize meetings. And then also, I'll just jump up, occasionally to attend master parades. Master parade is it's a parade that is always organized in the morning to carry out a head check. That is to check the men whether they are actually present, and then also to know the number of troops that are not present. So I'll jump up to meet them, talk to them. But there was a particular day when I organized a senior interest meeting. Although there were a series of senior interest meetings that I've organized, but this particular one, when I called the senior interest meeting, I was shocked because that was the time that I started receiving some comments from some of the senior interest, ranging from the CEO not acknowledging compliments. Like if he's complimented, he don't acknowledge. Two, the men were complaining bitterly about the promises that were made by the council during that preparation for the takeover, of which definitely I wasn't part of it. So it's like I wasn't aware of it. Then the third one was during the month of either September, October. That was this, rice crisis. That is a shortage of rice in the country, not in the military. The army, then we had our rice in the stores, but this was in town. And that affected the morals of the troops because you cannot be in the camp being fed by the army when your family at home, they were suffering. So that was a matter of concern that they brought to me. Then, in fact, that prompted me to, meet the CEO again and then advise him. That is, it is better, let him come out, face the men, and address these issues.
Before we move on to your meeting with the CEO, can you just tell us some of the complaints that the men made about the promises that were made by the junta to them? What complaints did they have about those promises not being met?
Good. The complaints were, one, according to what the information they gave me, is that the council members promised to give them money, promotion, an accommodation. So, I mean, so in fact, I relayed the same information to him, and then I keep discussing it with Barrow.
Did Barrow tell you anything about these promises at some point? Barrow himself, did he make mention of anything about the promises?
No, it was when I brought these issues to him. Then one day, as we were, like I explained yesterday, that is to say, you know, any day that he comes to the office, obviously, as an RSM, I move to his office and greet him. Then from there, we discuss on issues pertaining to the barracks. And then also, probably, if I have anything to tell him, you know, as an advice or whatever here and there, is through that meeting. But this particular day, when I raised up that issue again of these council members, the promise here and there, blah, 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 he went furthermore to tell me that, you see, you know, he called me Babakar. He told me, you see, Babakar, look, that is to say, let me tell you the truth. These council members, they are liars. How can they promise the men and without fulfilling their promises? All right? But one day the truth will prevail. So sort of, this is what he told me, you know, in Mandinka.
Can you just give us a time frame of when this actually happened? What day, month?
It's still in the month of October. Yes.
Do you remember around what time or what day?
Precisely mid or late at the tail end of October. But it was, sorry. It was just at the tail, like I said, maybe probably the tail end of October. Then not long ago, the changes happened.
Okay. Just to briefly recap, the soldiers were not happy, basically. There were promises that were made to them by the junta, and these promises were not fulfilled.
Really?
Also, you mentioned that the CEO, who was also the commanding officer at Yundum, was also not happy about certain promises not being met. Do you know if other officers within Yundum barracks as well felt the same way?
There was a day during the rehearsal when definitely Aliuba was really upset with the way, in manner, I was, you know, probably trying to address this issue with the CEO. So in the field there, he started telling me that, look, if you want things to be, to be okay, then it means, you know, certain things also should be provided. So I could not understand him. Then he went, and then he was the adjutant. That is Aliwa. Then I could not understand where he was coming from, and then the meaning of, you know, his statement. So during the discussion, now he tried to elaborate more by saying they've been waiting for quite a long time, you know, without seeing anything from, you know, what they were expecting from the council. So I should make sure that, you know, the command is aware of it, you know. So I think it also contributed to their reaction, because if the adjutant should tell me, you know, a statement like that, so it means maybe probably, and then the adjutant is the officer who normally takes control of the officers, observes the officers, and then, you know, control them.
You mentioned that you actually went to Barrow and explained the problems that were being experienced with the soldiers. Can you tell us what the outcome of that meeting was? Did he do anything about them?
Barrow, Lieutenant Barrow, he added, like I said, I've been going to him and then telling him about the concerns of the soldiers. But his response was always like, yes, it will be taken care of. It will be taken care of. But like I said, when the issue of this rice came up, I had to, face him and then tell him the truth. That is to say, look, CEO, I think it's better we go out and then you talk to the men. That, in fact, happened.
And how did he address the men?
First of all, I was asked to assemble the men. Not that particular day, that very day, no. It was another day. In fact, he told me, okay, tomorrow I'll talk to the men. I said, all right. So I informed my CSMs that tomorrow the CEO would address the men. So we all gathered. In fact, the men gathered by the flagpole. As you enter Yundum, by the guard room, that's where we have the flagpole on the right. When you turn, going towards the anteroom, the flagpole is on the right. That's where we assemble the troops. Then I went to him, informed him that the men are set. Then he came out. When he came out, he was very calm and started, in fact, that day, in fact, he started cracking some jokes. That is to say, look, I know people are, always hungry, but the Jarankas and then the Jomikas, that, relationship. So he was just referring to the Jomikas. That is to say, well, look, I know people are always hungry and then whatever, but we are going to address it. So he basically, in fact, addressed the men, gave them the assurance that, something will be done. And then with regards to the arise, he said, well, the government was doing something about it. They are aware of it, and they are doing something about it. And the promotion and the whatsoever here and there, he said, well, it will be taken care of. This is the way he put it. It will be taken care of.
After Basiru Barrow, commanding officer Basiru Barrow, after he addressed the men, did anything of significance happen to him?
Basiru Barrow was later transferred to the headquarters, and then Captain Morong was appointed the CEO, and he took over the battalion.
Can you just tell us when that was? Can you remember?
Actually, I cannot remember, but Morong's appointment as the CEO, whether 1 month or some weeks, into his tenure as the CEO, the 11/11 took place.
Can you give us the full names of Morong, please? Captain Morong?
Captain Mamoudou Morong.
Captain Mamoudou Morong.
Yes.
And where did he come from?
I know he lives in Serekunda, around Latrikunda, German, sort of.
I meant, where was he redeployed from in the army? Did he come from a particular barracks or from headquarters?
Morong, before the 22nd July, he was a gendarmerie. So after the amalgamation, he was absorbed into the army. But actually, whether he was in Farajara barracks or the headquarters, that's a doubt to me. I cannot remember.
When Captain Morong replaced CEO Barrow, can you tell us if any changes happened with the behavior of the men on the camp? Was there any difference at all, having him in command?
Very well. By virtue of my responsibility as the camp RSM, first when Morong reported, obviously I've been with him to orientate him about the camp. And during this orientation, we covered a lot of areas. One, with the standards of the troops on the ground. Two, the tax given to the battalion in terms of security, and then also ceremonial duties. I briefed him all. And then it was during that time that I informed him that right now we are engaged on rehearsals in preparation for the Remembrance on Sunday. Then 3, the welfare of the troops. I informed him about the ongoing shortage of rice that had affected the morals of the troops, that something must be done about it. Then 4, I prompted him to tell him about the way some officers are behaving when regards to the parade, because definitely it was a concern to me, because I feel it wasn't fair for the troops to be called upon to carry out attacks that will involve the officers, but they are not seeing the officers.
Did he address that particular problem with the reluctant manner in which the officers were behaving to appear for rehearsals for the Remembrance Day parade? Yes.
One thing I'll tell you about Marong is that he's a very firm officer, and then he's like a no-nonsense person, because immediately when I told him about the behavior of the officers, in fact, his reaction was like, how can officers behave like that? He could not understand that officers are tasked to carry out the job. When the men are there, the officers are not there. So when I briefed him about all these things, of course, yes, he called the officers, but it wasn't in my presence. He addressed the officers, and we forged ahead.
Did you notice an improvement in the behavior of the officers after he addressed them?
Of course. The following day, when he addressed the officers, they came out, and then we did the parade rehearsal. And I could remember there was a day when he himself came out from his office and he stood by the gate to see for himself what was going on whilst we were in the field. So for that one, there was a change.
Can you tell us what day the rehearsals were?
Say again, please.
Day of the rehearsals, the Remembrance Day rehearsals. What day did it fall on when the officers actually came out after Marong addressed them?
Marong actually, I think, I can't vividly remember.
Was it on the 10th day of November?
No, the 10th day of November, there was no rehearsal. This I'm talking about, days before the 10th, because Marong took over the camp. Like I said, either a month or some weeks, then this incident happened. The 11/11 happened.
Right. Can we move on to the rehearsals? Yes. Just before the Remembrance Day parade, you actually had certain rehearsals. Yes. I believe 2 particular rehearsals. What were they?
They were just dry rehearsals. We call them dry rehearsals, normal dry rehearsals. That is taking the men to the field and making sure that the format of that parade is being standardized. That is to say, all the troops taking part in that parade understood very well, and they are acquainted with the words of command of the commander, that is the parade commander. And basically, just to make sure that I harmonize the activities of the parade.
Did the dry rehearsals happen on the 10th day of November?
The rehearsal?
The dry rehearsals, yes.
No.
Can you tell us when they happened?
Well, our last rehearsal was on Wednesday. So Thursday was supposed to be our last day of the dry rehearsal. In fact, I could remember even Kanye was with the men in the field. Then later, when the officers did not turn up, because I think they got the information earlier that the council members were coming. So they did not, turn up at the field. So that was
you not just, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but just tell us when this information came in, that the council members were coming to the barracks.
No, I believe the officers got the information before me. Yes.
What happened on the 10th of November? Did anything of significance happen?
Yes. As the RSM, immediately when I reported in the morning, I focused, my attention was focused on the rehearsal. What are we going to do on that day?
So you had rehearsals on the 10th of November?
No. What I'm saying is that when I reported from my house to the camp, I was already focused on getting the rehearsal done that day, being the last day of the the dry rehearsal. All right, so, but when I came, yes, the men were gathered and then sent to the field, So assuming that, well, we'll do the rehearsal that day, then from there I distribute the uniforms. Before now I go to mark the field in Banjul. But unfortunately, the officers, I think they got the information before I get the information. So the men were in the field, and then I decided it was getting late. So that's the time I said, okay, let's call it off. Because since it's getting late, let's cut it off. And I issued the uniforms. This is how I told Kanye to bring the men, to the camp, and then I started issuing the uniforms.
Can we just get you right, Mr. Witness? There was a scheduled rehearsal supposed to happen on the 10th day of November, but
yes.
It never happened.
It never happened.
Can you tell us why it never happened?
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. Initially, the officers did not turn up. So when they did not, I took up the initiative. That is to say, let's cut it off. Let the men come back so that I can issue them with the uniforms. Because remember, that the following day was on Friday, was going to be the dress rehearsals. And it is that very day also I should go to Makati Square and then mark the field. So I decided to bring them up and started issuing the uniforms. So it is during that issuing of the uniforms that Lieutenant Jibril Say came to my office and told me that RSM, I think you have to suspend issuing of the uniforms and then get the men to the parade ground because the council are coming to address them on issues pertaining to the promises that were made. And then, so when he told me like that, I said, okay, well, thank God. At least my problem is going to be addressed today because, I've been receiving so many complaints here and there. So now that the council is coming, it's well and good, fine. Let them just go and then address it and then tell the men what happened. Because when they were making those promises, I wasn't there. So it's like, it doesn't concern me anyway.
Do you know if this is why the officers were not at the field early on, because of the coming of the council members?
I think so.
So what happened after he gave you this news about the coming of the council members? Did they eventually arrive?
Yes. Immediately when he gave me the instruction, the first question that I asked him is that, sir, am I going to provide quarter guard? Quarter guard, like I said, let me explain what quarter guard is. Quarter guard is a mini parade that is normally, conducted in a military barracks, mainly at the main entrance of a military barracks, to receive a VIP. It could be a commander, it could be a minister, it could be anything. So this quarter guard is normally mounted at the at the main gate to receive or to welcome, visiting dignitaries. So I asked him that question: am I to provide a quarter guard? He said no, because it is not necessary, since the council members are already on their way coming, so it will be too late. So this is how I suspend and then let the men to go and then assemble at the parade grounds.
Time was this?
It was in the morning, but precisely I can't remember exactly the hour and then whatever.
Was this unusual, the fact that such high dignitaries were coming to the camp and no quarter guard was conducted on their behalf?
It wasn't. It was not usual. Because by right, since, to my understanding, although, if you look at the situation at that time, it's like the council, they normally don't honor, that ceremony as such. So they will feel like going to any barracks and then just bump into any barracks and then they do whatever assignment they want to do and then go. So this particular one, since I was assuming that since things were just calm, and then we've now begun the normalization of regimentation in the units, I feel it was important for us to perform a quarter guard for them, but it was later turned down.
Did the council members eventually arrive?
Yes.
What time did they arrive?
It was in the morning, but maybe probably around 11 or so, 10, 11 or so. Actually, I cannot. Either in the morning or early hours of the afternoon or so.
What happened when they arrived?
Yes, before they arrived, I saw the officers line up at the main entrance, and then these officers, in fact, include, of course, Jibril Sey was there, Ablai Mane, Bakari Mane was there. Ablai Bah was there, Ali Uba was there, Dabo was there, Jaju was there.
Can you just give us the full names, please?
Lamin Jaju was there. In fact, even Sergio Fofana, then Sergio Fofana was at the headquarters. He came, but for him, it's like he was not aware of what was happening. So when he came, immediately when the officers in fact lined up, he joined the rank. Because the reason why I knew that he never knew that what was going on, it was when the council members arrived, and then Sana alighted from the vehicle and started shaking hands with them. So when he came to Sergio Fofana, he told him, you are also here. Are you part of them? Sergio just told him no and started laughing.
Who was Sergio Fofana?
Sergio Fofana is a naval officer. I think he's now the DA, defense attaché in Nigeria, sort of, either Nigeria or Ethiopia.
What was his rank then?
Then he was Sergio Fofana, I think it was a lieutenant or a captain that then, in 1994. I think it was a lieutenant, but in Navy. All right, so actually for him, it's like he accompanied the army commander, but because the army commander was standing, so obviously he cannot stand with him, and then got into the ranks.
You mentioned one Dabo. Can you give us his full name and rank?
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. I think it's Lamin Dabo.
You mentioned all the officers who were present lined up to greet the council members. I believe you have a photograph of that day and the officers who were lined up there to meet the council members. Is that correct?
Yes.
Do you have the photograph with you?
Yes, I have the photograph.
Okay. Mr. Chair, we have a photograph, the photograph the witness just mentioned, which we want to put as part of the record.
May we see it first, please? Thank you. Council, you may proceed while we looking at the Madafete by the Commissioner's place.
All right, thank you. We would like to ask him questions on the photograph. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. We'll wait.
Hello, Mr. Witness. We will just ask, we'll give you back the photograph and ask you questions on them. Mr. Usher, can you please just take the photograph back? Can you tell us who is on that photograph?
Yes. Here on my left, it's the Army Commander, Babakar Jata, and then behind him, it's Dennis Coker. Then in front of Babakar Jata, you have...
Who was Dennis Coker? Was his rank?
Yes, he was Captain Dennis Coker. Then in front of Babakar Jata, you have Sana Sabali greeting the officers. Then behind Sana Sabali, you have the CO, that is Captain Marong. Then first on the lineup, you have Bakari Mane Nyancho. Then followed by, on his right, you have Aliuba.
Can you give their ranks, please? Their full names and
Lieutenant Bakari Mane Nyancho. Then on his right, on Nyancho's right, you have Lieutenant Aliuba. On Lieutenant Ba's right, you have Lieutenant Ablai Ba. And to his right also, you have Lieutenant Buba Jame. Then after Buba Jame, you have, I think it's Lamin Jaju. Then after Lamin Jaju, you have Sergio Fofana. But like I said, Sergio Fofana is because of the officers, lined up, so he decided to join them. But actually, he's not part of it. Then after Sergio Fofana, you have Jibril Sey. Jibril Sey. Then you have, after Jibril Sey, you have Dabo. Lamin, Lieutenant Dabo. In fact, then after Lamin Dabo, there is an officer, but actually I can't see him clearly and then also remember.
When was the photograph taken?
The photograph was taken on the 10th of November, 10th of November 1994.
Who took the photograph?
Is the members, the personnel of the APRE, that is the Army Public Relations Department.
You described the officers who were in the lineup of the photograph. Were all of the officers in Yundum at that point actually on the lineup on that day?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Chairman, if we could kindly have the photograph as part of the record, exhibit number 0028.
Request granted. Fine. You may proceed, please.
Thank you. You've already explained who the officers were lined up. Can you tell us which council members were present that the officers had actually lined up for and were greeting?
The council members were, obviously, Sana led them, Singate came in.
Can you just give us their full names and their positions?
Yeah, all right, okay. They are led by Captain Sana Sabali. You have Captain Edward Singate.
Captain Sana Sabali was the vice president, vice chairperson at the time?
Yes, the vice chairman. Captain Edward Singate, Minister of Defense. Sadibu Haidera, Minister of, Captain Sadibu Haidera, Minister of Interior. Yankuba Ture, Captain Yankuba Ture, Minister of Local Government. Then you have the Army Commander being escorted by Captain Dennis Coker. They came.
Captain Dennis Coker came from headquarters?
Yes, he's a staff officer at the headquarters.
And you also mentioned Sergeant Fofana as well. He was also from headquarters.
Sergeant Fofana also from the headquarters.
It is correct that you explained that he was actually lined up with the officers.
Yes.
Although he was not part of
them.
No,
he wasn't.
Yes. And Captain Sanasavali made a comment that, actually, are you part of them?
Yes.
Is that correct? Did you know what this was meant? What this was meant? What he said? What it meant? Sorry.
I presume like Sana before they left, they knew that they were coming to meet officers who were part of it, because they must have got the information earlier, and probably based on their homework, they must have collected the names and the details of all those officers who were maybe probably assumed to be part of it. So it was a surprise for him to come and then meet Sergeant Fofana within the midst. So that's, I think, what prompted him to ask that question.
Can you just explain what you mean by part of it?
Maybe part of the officers, who were probably, thought to be the organizers of whatever, plan they must have organized.
Who was the army commander at that time?
It's Babgar Jata.
And he was Colonel.
Colonel Babgar Jata, yes.
And he was also present with the council members. He came with them.
Yes.
Did any other senior officers, apart from Jata and
well, obviously my CEO was there at the time, Captain Marong, and then for him definitely he must be there. There's no two way about it. He was there, and I cannot remember definitely. I cannot remember the remaining officers.
After the officers greeted and welcomed the council members, what happened next?
Well, they were ushered to where the men were. They moved in there, and
can you tell us where this was?
The parade ground was right inside the camp, just around the accommodation line. That is, as you go, you pass the CO's office, then you pass the clinic, where the clinics used to be. Then you have the ordnance, blocks. Then immediately after the ordnance block, then you have the company line admin office. So it is immediately after that block. That's where we have an open ground. That's where the men were assembled.
Were you present at the meeting?
No. Immediately from the, welcoming ceremony at the main gate, I went into my room, to my office, just to continue, arrangements for the uniforms, and also to check the ones that were left, and to compile, my records in preparation for the marking of the field.
Were the council members addressing the men, the soldiers?
Yes, I believe, because I was in my office, so immediately when they went there, they were total silent. Because from my office to the parade ground is a little bit far. So there was total silence. So I assume that the meeting has kick-started, and then the council members started addressing the men.
Did they address the officers?
That is exactly what doubts me, because actually when I went there, I think maybe probably they might have addressed the officers.
But you were not present?
No, I wasn't present, please.
Is this something that you know, or are you sure about?
That
they addressed the officers, or are you just assuming that he did?
I am just assuming, because I assuming in a sense, coming to the barracks, addressing the men, and then leaving the officers. Probably, maybe they may attempt to address the officers so that at least they will see whether they can try to, change their minds and so forth here and there. Because, like, if really you have regards to your troops or to your officers, even whereas the person may have a different negative, mind against you, probably you may attempt to talk to him and then try to persuade him so that he can change his mind. So I was assuming maybe probably they must have addressed them.
How long did the meeting last?
The meeting lasted, I cannot remember, but it ended in the afternoon. In the afternoon. Precisely the timings, actually, I don't know. I can't remember.
Do you know what happened at the meeting?
Whilst in my office, as the meeting rolls on, eventually I had a gunshot. So when I had the gunshot and then the sound, came from the direction of where the meeting was taking place. So I just grabbed my, pay stick and then went there. So when I went, exactly, I found Captain Edward Singate, telling the men that they, the council, they are not afraid of anybody. And then whosoever is part of it, let him think about changing their mind, or else, they will be dealt with severely.
When you were present at the time, who did you observe present at the meeting?
All the council members.
Were there any officers present?
Yes, the officers that accompanied Babakar Jatta were there. Of course, my CEO was there too.
What about the other officers at Yundum?
Definitely, maybe probably either they were within the ranks. Sometimes there was when there is a parade. Sometimes officers are allowed to be in front of the men. All right, or side by side with the men. Or probably, within the lineup of the reviewing officer. Reviewing officer is like an officer who is either inspecting or addressing troops.
Yeah, can you just tell us what you witnessed, whether you actually saw the officers there? Do you remember seeing any officers?
This is what I'm telling you, I cannot remember.
If you cannot remember, then you can tell us you cannot remember.
Yeah, I cannot remember, definitely. And then, sorry, ma. And then I did not stay long there. It was when I had Singate, talking about it. I said, well, maybe probably from here the problem will be addressed. That is the major challenge that I had with the men, and that was really a concern. So I assumed that, well, from here everything will change. So I left back to my office, continue my arrangement.
And how long did you actually spend at the meeting? You said it wasn't long.
No.
Can you tell us how long?
Maybe 10, 15 minutes, and then I went back.
As the RSM of the camp, you were the most senior non-commissioned officer, is that correct?
Exactly.
With a meeting going on where your men were being addressed, shouldn't you have been present?
Very well. There are certain instances that the RSM, obviously you have your warrant officers and other senior officers. And then obviously wherever the CO is, you are expected to be there. But certain instances you can, in fact, talk to the CO or excuse yourself, provided that an information is given as to why you are moving out to do certain one or two things. So for me, it's like since I have my CSMs there, and this is a problem that was been brought forward during my absence. That is to say, the promises were made when I was in there, and thank God that these people are coming to address it. And then some of these senior issues were present when the promises were made. So I feel the senior issues, those senior issues on the ground can handle it and can take note of whatever was going on, whilst I continue doing my admin bit. Because
So
definitely I had a very big challenge. That is to say, tomorrow, the following day, I must conduct this dress rehearsal. So I just wanted, concurrent activities to be done. While the meeting is on, I'm also busy doing my admin bits before it was late.
So you felt that because you were not one of the men who had a grievance in terms of the promises that were being made, you felt you were not part of the meeting, and as a result, you shouldn't be there.
Yes, I feel the CSMs can, take care of the whole thing there.
You left the meeting subsequently, as you said. What did you do next?
I left the meeting and then went back to my office, like I said, making arrangements for the marking of the field, and then getting all my stuff, and then also compiling the remaining uniforms that were left, because after the meeting, I did continue the issuing of the uniforms.
What happened after the meeting? Did you see the council members leave?
Yes, after the meeting, actually they left. They left, and then the men came back, to the guard room.
What time did they leave?
I said in the afternoon. I cannot vividly remember, definitely.
And what happened next when they left? You said the soldiers came back.
Yes.
And what subsequently happened?
When the soldiers came back, I assumed the issuing of the uniforms. But later, I came to realize a strange thing. That is to say, uniforms were going down. The number of uniforms were going down when I saw a very long queue. So that prompted me to raise a question. I am then asked a question: what must have happened? So, when I came out, I looked at the queue. I was able to detect a soldier who was never part of the parade on the queue, attempting to receive a uniform. So that's the time I halted, I suspended everything, and then tried to address that problem, that matter, and then we continue issuing the uniforms. But
do you know why soldiers who were not part of the parade were actually taking uniforms?
One was that, soldiers, they love uniforms. And the slightest chance they have to, have a uniform issued to them, they will utilize it. And two, probably, I don't know the reason why, but when I sat down, calculated, that was after the incident, I started putting one and one together, so I tried to probably link that unfortunate situation to the incident. Maybe probably they were trying to get the uniform so that they can use it during that incident. But I wasn't so. But anyway, to my mind, that's what I was thinking.
When did you finish with the whole preparations and issuing of uniforms?
I finished the process around 2-3. I can't remember definitely, because it was a long time. But I can vividly remember that, yes, I issued the uniforms and then completed the uniforms in preparation for the following day. That was going to be the dress rehearsal day for the Remembrance Sunday. After
issuing the uniforms, what were your plans?
Right. After issuing the uniforms, I requested for a vehicle from ST. A vehicle was sent. In fact, that was a van, GNA 11. A white van was sent to me that I was supposed to use and then go to Banjul to mark the field. Then when the van came, I loaded my stuff because the aids that I normally go with, that is the materials that I normally go with, I'll go with a long rope, with buckets, probably with hammer and pegs, plus the flags here and there, the marking flags. So when I get my stuff on board the vehicle, then I went to Lieutenant Say, being the OC, and then I informed him that, sir, I'll be going to Banjul to mark the field. He told me that you can just hold on so that you take the officers along when we close. So I said to him, okay. Jokingly, he told me that, okay, you see, look, this is an order, so try to comply with it. Jokingly. So I told him, sir, no problem, sir. So I waited. Then the officers were in the anteroom. But before the officers finished whatever they were doing in the anteroom, it was late. It was around 5, getting to 6 o'clock. So from there we started the move, going to Banjul.
Can you tell us who was on board the vehicle?
Actually, when they came out, one Lieutenant Say was there. Nyancho, that is Lieutenant Bakari Mane, was on board. Buba Jame, Captain Lieutenant Buba Jame was on board. EMCC was on board. MCC was on board. Anyway, the vehicle was filled. Yes, so I think most of these officers, apart from those that lived, Brikama end, like people like Lieutenant Ablai Bah. I think for him, I don't know actually where he lives, but he was living around, Brikama end.
During the, on your way to drop the officers, were there any points of discussion that are of interest?
Well, when we started moving, it was Lieutenant Say who instructed the driver that, well, you have to take the drivers to their and then drop them at their various homes. That really affected my plan. Yes.
So what happened? Did the driver eventually drop all the officers at their homes?
Yes.
And what did you do next?
Yes. The driver, complied with the instructions, and then we started moving from one point to another. Then Lieutenant Say first drop, because he was living in La Trikunda, Iringanya here. Sorry, is it La Trikunda? After Tabokoto. He dropped first, then we started, moving from one point to another, But before we arrived in Banjul, it was late. Immediately when we arrived in Banjul, it was late and then getting dark. When I started marking the field, I had to tell the driver to put on the lights of the vehicle so that I could see and then continue marking the field.
Can you tell us which field was this? Where was the parade ground?
The parade ground was in Makati Square. It was in Makati Square.
Did you eventually mark the field?
Yes.
Did you finish doing that?
I eventually marked the field. And then it was dark.
And what did you do next?
After marking the field, I decided to come back to Yundum.
Did anything happen on your way from Banjul to Yundum?
When I was coming from Banjul to Yundum, on my way I came up to Lamen, just approaching the Mandinari Junction around NTC. I saw someone attempting to stop the vehicle. So when we got closer, I recognized it was a soldier. Then the driver stopped. Then obviously I recognized the soldier, who happens to be Corporal Buwa Jame, who was the Pro-4 then on duty. So initially I thought maybe he was there to, buy, couscous, that is chere, because that is the usual thing. Soldiers usually go there to buy kere and then for their needs. So when we stopped and he bought the vehicle, then automatically he just blew news. That is, sir, there is something happening in the camp. I said, what? He said, soldiers started coming to the camp, but he could not understand. All right. I said, well, at that instant, what came into my mind was like, because tomorrow is the dress rehearsal day, so I assume probably it was the soldiers who were supposed to take part in the parade, started converging, because normally we leave very early. So actually that was my thought.
Did you proceed to Yundum?
Yes. As we were going, around Banjulindi, he was insisting that, well, the way, soldiers were converging in Yundum, he could not understand. I told him, well, let's go, let me see for myself. He said, no, it's not safe for us to go there. I said, how? He said, because he could not understand. I said, okay, no problem, let's go. Because definitely for me, it's like, no, it can happen. So when we went to the camp, by my office, the driver parked. The first person that I saw was Sergeant Masana Jawara. He was the QRF sergeant by then, on that day. Then I called him. I said, Jawara, yes. How are you? He said, fine. I said, what is going on? He said, what? I said, is anything going on here? He said, no, sir. Everything is okay. You think everything is okay? He said, yes. So I said, okay. Then when I looked along the street, I could see some soldiers, gathered. But to me, since the QRF sergeant or the sergeant had already declared, everything is calm and, things were going normal, then I reverted back to, what I was thinking. That is to say, maybe probably those soldiers who were supposed to take part in the parade started converging. So I told the driver to get things from the vehicle and then pack them in my office. Then I went to my house.
Can you tell us who this driver was?
The driver, I don't know his first name, but we usually call him Jallo 11. Jallo 11. I cannot remember his first name.
What time was this when you had finished doing what you were doing and started going towards your accommodation?
I know it was after 8 in the night, getting down to 9 o'clock. But precisely I cannot remember the actual time. But I know it was late, dark.
Did you get to your apartment eventually?
Yes. When I went to my apartment, usually I just take my bath. So after taking my bath, and just was sitting in the sitting room, relaxing, watching television.
Did anything happen whilst you were watching television?
Yes, whilst I was in my house watching television, my telephone rang, because usually I have, those days I was having a telephone in my room, and together with the occupant of the next apartment, who happens to be a chief clerk, we are the only two people having telephones in our rooms. So my telephone rang. Then when I pick it up, it was a call from the military police. And the person who called me was the late Jamboy Sow, Lance Corporal Jamboy Sow. He called me and then we greeted each other in Mandinka, and then he asked me a question. Sir, where are you? Are you in your office or what? I said, no, I'm in my room. He said, well, I just want to advise you to, leave the camp, because we have a list of, names, and then among the list your name is there of people who are supposed to be arrested. I said, how? He said, because they got the information that, there'll be, a change of government tonight, council members. So to me, like, it was something that, I took very light. That is to say, well, how can it be? Because I cannot remember, me doing anything wrong. So I told him, okay, and I rang on the telephone, continue sitting down, and then watching television.
It's strange, Lieutenant, that after receiving the second warning, one from Corporal Jama and then later from the military post, military police, that there was something happening, that you would still remain calm and still be watching TV. Can you tell us why you still did not take the warning seriously?
What prompted me to, be so relaxed was the mere fact that, one, I was never informed of any planned, action to be carried out that night. Secondly, I cannot remember doing anything wrong, during that tenure I was appointed the RSM. And then nobody had ever confronted me to say, well, RSM, today you did something wrong to me, or like this and that here and there. So this is why I said, look, I cannot remember doing something wrong, so I don't think I'll become a victim.
So up to this point, you're telling us that you had no idea about what was being planned around November 11th?
Actually, no.
So you continued watching TV, and did anything happen?
Yes. While sitting down there, immediately when I finished, talking to Jambo Iso, and then I rang up the telephone, all of a sudden, somebody knocked at my door. So I said, okay, who is that coming? So when the guy opened the door, it happens to be the same, Kopul Jame, the RP on the ground. But this time around, the way he entered in my office, in my room, he came with a very serious mood. That is why, sir, something is happening in the camp. That soldiers are coming requesting for rifles. I said, rifles? He said, yes. And that I should do something. Well, I sat down, properly. I said, well, what's the problem? So I cannot figure out. And he was standing there, expressing how serious the situation was getting, the activities was unfolding in the camp. So straight away, I asked him a question. Do you know where the CO lives? He said to me, no. I said, okay. Where's the driver? He said, the driver is there. I told him, go and then ask the driver whether he knows where the CEO lives. Because if, like I said earlier on, the role of an RSM, you are to observe and then inform the CO, the commanding officer, immediately, whether, so in case like if there is emergency. So now, I told him, go and find out from the driver. He came back again to me to tell me that, okay, sir, the driver said he don't know the place. You don't know the CO's place, but he can find out. I said, okay, you can go. But later on, I was made to understand from the driver that the fuel that is inside the car cannot take them to Serekunda. So it's like, so course is open. What can you do? Then I pull out $50 from my pocket, give it him. Then a liter of gas oil, I think it was $6 or so. I pull out $50, give it to him, and then I asked him to go and then look for the CO.
So it is correct that the driver went with Corporal Jama?
Yes.
To look for the CO?
Yes, they went.
Was it the same driver you mentioned before?
Yes.
Subsequent to Corporal Jame coming to inform you about the situation, did you receive any other call from the military police?
It was when Corporal Jame left with the driver. In a couple of minutes, the telephone rang again. So when I pick up the telephone, this time around, still from the military police, but from Jassy, Sergeant Jassy. What I understand from Jassy was like, he was trying to confirm whether if I was still in the room. All right, because when I pick up the telephone, he said, RSM, I said yes. Are you still in the room? I said yes. He said, please try and then move, leave the camp, because the situation is getting tense and we don't know what is going to happen next. So that's the time now I begin to take things very seriously. That how comes that these people are just calling me to, ask me to leave the camp? And then he also, in fact, mentioned that we have a list of people who are going to be arrested that night.
Did he give you any more details about this particular list? Was your name on the list?
He made mention that, yes, my name was among the listed personnel to be arrested. So that's the time that I took it very seriously. And then immediately when I finished talking with him, I started, getting prepared.
Did he mention any other names that were on the list?
No.
Did he explain the circumstances surrounding creation or preparation of the list? Do you know where the list came from? Who wrote the list or came up with the names on the list?
No. He was just, in fact, emphasizing for me to move out.
So after that, you mentioned that Corporal Buba Jame left with the driver. And what did you do next?
When I received this call from the military police again, I started, preparing by closing my windows, and I switched up the television, and then the sockets. So all of a sudden, I had a knock at the back door of my room, my apartment. So I went to the window side, then raised the window curtain like that. I see somebody standing by the window curtain, who happens to be Lance Corporal Alaji Kebe. So Alaji Kebe, when he saw me, he just did a signal like that. Usually in the military, like if a soldier or like an officer wants to call you, you'll just give that signal like that, meaning that you come. So when he did like this, I opened the back door and then went out. So we greeted each other. And then he told me that, sir, meaning that, sir, we are ready. I said, ready for what? Then he told me that, I'm going to tell you council members. I said, how? That is, that it's today that we are going to remove the council members. I said, how? He said, well, the promise that they made, it's long overdue, that we've not seen anything. So we decided that, at least because we were the one who put them there, we have to remove them and then put in other people. I said, who are those people? He said, all officers in the camp, and then even the soldiers. I said, in fact, I asked him a question. Is the CEO aware of it? He said, no. The CEO is not aware of it because he's not part of it. I said, okay. So I looked at him. That was the time, in fact, I said, see me see trouble. Things are now getting out of hand. That a Lance Corporal coming to face an RSM, giving him instructions that I should go and then assemble the men for a mission. I said, things are not right here.
The promises that the Lance Corporal mentioned to you, were these the same promises that the men and the officers had been complaining about whilst you were on your duties as RSM?
Yes.
You also state that he mentioned that all the officers in Yundum were actually involved in the coup plot. Is that correct?
Yes. And when, like I said, when he told me that all officers and men were involved and they are ready. So since he has already informed me that he's now telling me to go to the camp and get the men out and get them ready for the mission. So I could not understand. A Lance Corporal coming to meet me and then giving me instructions. I think I said to myself, I think the service has turned upside down.
Do you know where his instructions came from?
No.
Can I just take you back a little bit? Can you tell us the first name of Sergeant Jassy from the military police?
Famara Jassy.
Okay. Just tell us approximately what time he actually called you.
This was between 9 and, because it was getting to 10 o'clock 10 o'clock in the night, because all this activity was, because it was around 10 o'clock sort of. Because why I knew that it was when Kebe came to me and then told me that their, assembly time was 10 p.m. that they were supposed to assemble. So I should go to the camp and then, get the men out, for the mission.
Mr. Witness, I think we'll take a break here and then continue when we come back, just to allow for the chairman and the commissioners to ask questions, if necessary.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, Council, for that. If there are no questions at this point, we will take a 30-minute break and then come around. But before we go, Sanya, can you please tell me the Lance Corporal's reason that he gave you for the action they were about to take was limited only to promises that were not fulfilled? Or were there other reasons that he gave you for the attempt to change the council?
Thank you, sir, Chairman. According to the Lance Corporal, Alaji Kebe, he said to me, that is in Olaf, that promise Bugai, wahon, definitely. So we decided that you change, you definitely. So meaning that the promise that they gave him, and then probably maybe the promises may cover, the series of promises that I mentioned earlier on, but he just cut it short to say, well, the promises that were made by the council were never fulfilled, and then it has taken a long time, but they could no longer be a.
Thank you very much. We will take a 30-minute break, come back at 12 noon. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.